Welcome to episode 54 of Meet the GIMP, and the first episode in the second year of this podcast. My name is Rolf Steinort and I'm recording this in Bremen, northern Germany. Before I start with the real show, I have some updates for you. The first thing is about the challenge I gave you in the last show, about restoring some old documents. There was a misunderstanding between Ted and me, and some of the documents were not for publication. With some of them there were problems with personal rights and rights of the archives. So please only use these images here. They are in the new archive, and I've made a list on the web which numbers you can use. And please delete the other one. I'm sorry for this. It will not happen again. This one here, it's nice. Handwriting on a microfiche reader screen, and if you look into it, you see here the handwriting, very fine handwriting, and superimposed on that the structure of the screen. The goal would be to have the handwriting crisp as it was, and as it was in 1830, and to get rid of this typical 20th century artifacts from the screen reader here. Then here, this one. It suffers from flash. Here it is overexposed and the color is off. Otherwise, this is fairly okay. Could use a bit of perspective perhaps, but this is easy, I think. This one is a little bit harder. You see again, handwritten, somewhere when people had still good handwriting. I'm a teacher for kids between 10 and 16 years, and well, I know a lot about current handwriting. Sometimes I need a psychic to to decipher this stuff. But here you see we have bleeding from the back page, and even perhaps this stuff here can be from a page that sat on top of this, diffusion between the sheets of paper. So this is a little bit more tricky. If you look here, which belongs to which page or which side, this is tricky. This one here is again fairly easy, but worth to try it. And this is my absolute favorite. It must be written in a time where paper was well, not available in big quantities, or where the postage allowed only one sheet of paper. And well, the guy who wrote this here started writing in the normal direction and then added the stuff he couldn't finish, writing in 90 degrees crosswise. It's hard to read, but if you go a little bit into it, you can read it. The pattern recognition of our eyes is so good, we can read this stuff here. But the problem for you is, can you find a way to isolate these two things here? I doubt it, but this is a challenge, and so try it. This old letter is in fairly good quality. It should be not that easy, but relatively easy. The problem here, I think, is the paper is smudged and perhaps even a bit yellowed, and to get the contrast right between the ink, to get that darker, and the background here, to get that lighter, that can be a problem. This one here is a typical example for stuff you have if you scan books. And well, with a lot of old books, it's good to have them scanned before they deteriorate, especially the stuff printed in the industrial area. It's funny, if you go into a library specialized in old books, it's easier to get your hands onto a book written or printed in the early 19th century than something printed about 1910 or so, because the paper in 1910 was so much worse than the paper in the 19th century. Well, that's really a problem, and some libraries here in Germany are struggling to keep their books or to digitalize them before they simply rot away. Books not a century old and unusable. Yes, that's progress, I think. So here we have this dark middle part and a rotation between the pages. Otherwise, this would be okay. If you want to participate in the challenge, just download the images from the blog entry of episode 53. Here they are, 11 megabytes, pruned of the stuff that shouldn't be there. Please document your steps that you take and mail the documentation either as a video or as a written comment. Mail them together with a JPEG of your image, not the XCF I think, but a JPEG of the image, to me at info@meetthegimp.org. And then I'll put them up on this site for looking at them. That's something new in Meet the GIMP, and that's the forum. You find a link to it in the top here. This is a crude approach that will change, but here is the link for the forum. Or you can go down and down and down and see here and see comments on entries which were made. You can even let your mouse hover about this and read the stuff and check if you have the current stuff, if you can see the current stuff. If you go to the forum, there is, it's a little bit broader, wider than my recording window here. It's a fairly standard forum. It's still a work in progress, some things to iron out. You see here bug reports are there. Even without a big announcement, there are already a lot of interesting people there and writing really interesting stuff. I don't want to have this forum as another GIMP discussion forum, but as a accompanying forum for Meet the GIMP, for the show. My personal goal with this forum is getting material for planning the show, discussing the shows. You see here we have already discussed LAB mode, which will be a show, DRI, often called HDR in error, with GIMP, without any additional tools, and about simulating watercolors, it's worth it or not, and about a very good book by Vincent Versace called Welcome to Oz. I'll talk about that in a later show. So this is here for future shows. I'll skim the ideas here off and either publish them on the blog or use them in the shows. If you post here, your content is mine. This is for me, and I'm the only one who can start a thread here, but you can post also. And you see here already show number 54, Čakovec Castle and Nightclub. And so you have a dim idea what will happen today. The whole forum, except of this part here, is visible for everybody. This here is visible only for members, and of course only members can post. Is it worth for you becoming a forum member? If you're interested in discussing stuff around GIMP, Meet the GIMP, and even some stuff like web design and programming for the web, for this site here, and podcasting, screen recording, and so on, then come to the forum. If you want to comment on a specific video, then please do it not in the forum here, but on the blog at meetthegimp.org. That's the better place for such comments, and I think it's not worth to register in the forum for just leaving a comment about one show. And now I have something special for Luigi from Buenos Aires in Argentina. For a project, Luigi needs to paint in 50% opacity on a page. And that's easy. Just go here, opacity. And that's easy. Just type in 50% and paint. Just paint away. Don't lift the pen from the tablet or release the mouse button and fill your area. If you lift the mouse button, then you have a little bit of a problem if you paint over this here. Then we are getting real black. He can live with that, but he has a different problem. He needs not only 50%, he needs also a part of, let's say, 30%. And this 30% opacity has to be without a gap here at the border. And you see, I'm leaving either a too dark way here where they both overlap, or there's white between it. There must be a way to do this. I sent Luigi a solution per email, but I have found a simpler one. So let's erase this here and start new. First thing is, as always, work with layers, nearly as always. I just add a transparent layer. Then I'll start here with my 50%, 57, and just paint the stuff I need to paint. Now I switch to a different opacity, and I take my magic wand here, select all the stuff I've painted just a moment before, and go to select, invert. I could have pressed Ctrl I. I go back to my pen, have my 25% opacity, and now I can just paint over here where I want to have this stuff. Oh, there I made the mistake to release the mouse. I can paint even over the edge here, go here. I could be tempted to just select. I could be tempted to try just to select this one here, but it doesn't work. Even with selecting a color, it doesn't work. Unselect all, select this, because all this is the same color, it's black, only the opacity is different. And so a way is go to the channels here, select the alpha channel, and say this here is tricky to fix. If you try to get it with the magic wand, you select everything because everything is black here. It's only the opacity is different. If you take the color selector, the same stuff. Everything is selected. Even the magic scissors don't work very properly here. Well, they recognize this here as a border. there you could cut it out. But I would simply use the erasers and paint it over with select everything that is like I did before, everything that is written over, and then paint it over again. So Luigi, I hope this has helped a bit. If you are not new to this podcast, you'll know that I was at Čakovec at a workshop in Croatia. I didn't take many pictures there, but one morning I walked around there and found the old castle from Čakovec, and you see one shot here. Before I post-process this shot in GIMP, I want to talk a bit about photography here. It's the view from the path in the park and between some trees here, and this would be the typical touristy snapshot. But something bothers me with this shot here. The first one is this power line. Well, I can't do very much about that, but these houses here behind the wall, they make this wall look a bit too little, so I don't like that. Well, before taking a shot, move around. And now let's move around a bit. It will get a bit shaky now, but let's see. I'm going down the mode. You see, while I walk along, the power line goes up. This wall gets larger because I'm coming nearer and the perspective changes. And these roofs here, they vanish. Still some roof there. Somewhere here, this would be a good shot. Okay. And now walk on. To the left. That's not good for the tower of the church. To the right. Then this wall. Well, it gets more context, but the impression is not as good for. Too much clutter now in the image, and there comes another house into the image. And now the church tower vanishes behind the trees. So my photography tip for the day is move around. Look where you get your perspective right. This is the image I like most of the ones I shot there. What's to do? First, I check if the image is level. Then I'll decide about a crop. And finally, if I have decided about the crop, then I think I have to clone out the power line here on top. I don't know if it's a power line or telephone or something. So first, looking if this is level. You see here there are some skewed lines, but these lines aren't vertical. The only thing really vertical is the church tower. Perhaps it isn't even vertical, but we expect it to be vertical. So I zoom in onto the church tower. I just pressed 1, and I pull over a ruler from here to check if this is vertical. You see, this really is vertical. Once in a time, not exactly. Okay, let's fix that. I select my rotation tool. I select here corrective, and I select preview the grid. I increase the number of grid lines to have some here, otherwise I would have here and here a grid line. And now I click into the image. You see here the grid lines are here, And now I just turn this a bit so that the grid lines run parallel with the tower. And I think this is okay. Here is the rotate window minus a half degree of rotation. Next question, cropping. I have to think about what I want to keep in the image. And for this I use a crop technique that's called inside-out crop. First let me check here the settings. Aspect ratio, I don't want to have fixed ratio. And I want the highlights and also the rules of third. The rule of third is in no way a rule that you have to follow, but it's a nice thing to have around, nice reminder how to structure an image. So I want to have in it the church tower, so I just make a crop where this tower is in. Now I want to have in this wall here. How much of it? I don't know. And I want to have this part of the fortifications here, this old moat. And I want to have a little bit of foreground interest, and the only real foreground interest here is the tree. Let's keep this here in the image. And now I pull over here. I think, well, should I include this here to show that there is a corner in the wall, that this is just a nuke in the fortification? Or is it better to pull this back up to here? Well, if I do it this way, I have a visual interest here, and the eye is flipping between these 2 points here. If I go here, the image gets a little bit boring. Too much wall here. If I go here, I would have to explain away here this edge, this reinforced edge. I think I'll keep it in this way. So here I want to have a connection between the upper part and the lower part of the tree, so I'm staying here. And now if I check these rules of thirds sliders here, I have the church tower on 1/3. I have the wall filling the lower part of the lower 2/3 of the image. I think it works this way. I can use another one here, the golden sections, and you see here golden sections is an ancient wisdom about how to structure an image. And you see here I have nearly put my stuff on the lines here. The clock is nearly in the golden point. Let's move this around a bit to get the clock right on spot. So now it's classically composed. See here, here. Now just click into the image and it is cut. I definitely need to get rid of this power line here. So I zoom into the image, and oh, by the way, you see this image has been made with my point and shoot and not with my digital SLR. You see here strongly sharpening artifacts. I can't select weaker sharpening in this camera, but bet how my digital SLR is set up. So cloning out is fairly simple too. we have the clone tool, and I have to select the correct mode. It's normal mode. I select full opacity and I select a soft brush. Let's look at the size. Can be a little bit larger. This is okay. And now I choose a point from where to copy. I think I'll start here. Press the Control key and click. And when I paint now, the information is copied from this marker to here. I have here a setting, press the sensitivity, the opacity. If I press soft, only a little bit is copied. Let me show you this here. If I press harder, everything is written over. And now, let me just paint this over. You see, the source walks along with the pointer, and so you get a little bit of variation in the image. And here you see the sky gets different, and I need to use a new source point here and painting over the image here. I have now taken care of all the wire except for the stuff here in the tree. This gets a bit tricky. You have to keep up something that is believable. It hasn't to be true, but it has to be believable. And so let's zoom in a little bit more and look how this here is. Here you see a little bit like leaves, so there can be some leaves behind this, and well, I'll try to clone out from here up to here. This should look nice here if I just take this away. And now I need of course a smaller circle here, like this one. And I select from here and start to clone. As you see here, everywhere are this halos from sharpening in the camera. And so I select this here as my origin and start to clone from here. Now I have this halo here too. This here is again simple. Just go to here and start to clone. Watch that there is no pattern visible that starts to repeat itself, because in something that nature made, nothing is really repeating itself, except where it repeats itself, like in beeswax or so. Patterns are the most dangerous thing here with cloning out something. Perhaps you remember the guy who forged some images from Beirut, and he just wasn't content with the amount of fighting that was there, and just made up some additional... Oh, now I'm talking and cloning out not only this here, but this too. Okay, it will stay believable. This guy inserted additional smoke, and well, he had exactly the same pattern in the smoke, and so he was caught. It was easily visible as something is strange there, because smoke has no repeating pattern. You have to remember, nobody will see this again in this magnification even if this image goes to the web, all the stuff here I'm doing now is just senseless, waste of time, because on the web nobody can see this in this magnification here. Oh, I've made a mistake. But if you put it on the wall or so, not that I want to say this image is something for the wall, then it would be nice to have this stuff properly cloned out. I think this is good enough. If you ever need to change a document, well, let's say securely, as in forging it and having it tested by experts, be warned. There are mathematical methods which show easily that this image here has been cloned because of repeating patterns and so on. So don't fiddle with images except for making them look better. Now this image needs a little bit of more pop into it, and I'll do that on the next layer. I just copy this layer. Well, here, this barrel corrected. If you have seen my Python show, or the show about lens effects, then you know that my little small Sanyo camera has a serious barrel distortion problem, and I have written a script to correct that. But now we're going to do something about the color of this image. And perhaps I should try a little bit of curves first. Just the normal thing. Let's try the standard way, that is the S-curve. Just pull up the whites a bit, not too much, otherwise we'll lose definition in the sky. Perhaps this way. So only the real whites here are influenced by this, and pull down this a bit. More down here than up. You see the whole image changes the character. Pull this out of the way. I think this is way better. Click on OK. And now I think I don't have to do anything more with this image. I could, well, perhaps a little bit more definition into the sky. So I double this layer again and set the layer mode to multiply. You see here, the blue gets bluer, the white gets whiter. And what I have to do now is just make a layer mask that takes this here out of this image. So let's rename this first here. Not color copy, but sky multi. And add a layer mask. And I take a grayscale copy of the layer as the mask. You see here, this gets better. White in the layer mask reveals and black hides. And so I just go here to the layer mask, show layer mask, and I take my threshold tool here. Let's see if this works. I want to get everything except the sky into black. This was the wrong direction. Looks nice too, doesn't it? I can try to divide the world here into sky and rest. But you see here, the sky darkens before everything else gets black. Let's look for alternatives. Let's see if we can get something better in the channels. Let's look at the blue channel. This is promising, isn't it? Add the green channel. Not so. And add the red channel. Also not so. But the blue channel is good. So I go to the channels, go to blue, and just pull this here below. And I have here now a blue channel copy in my channels. And now I go back to the layer mask, onto the layers, and right click here, say add layer mask, say channel, blue channel copy, and add it. Sorry, and go into the layer mask, show the layer mask, my threshold tool, and now just pull this up. The granularity came from stuff becoming here structured and contradicting the effect. This should not be in there. Like this. Let's have a look. That's better. When I switch my layer on and off, you see that this operation has increased the halos in a very big way. Let's see if it's here was... No, here it's not that bad. Well, here not so nice. There's an easy solution for that. Just blur the layer mask a bit. And I go to blur, it's out of your way here. I take Gaussian blur. I have to research this blur stuff. What's the difference between Gaussian blur and the other blurs? And I think radius of 5 is okay. Let's look here. Let's try that. And now look here at the halo. I can repeat the blur. Just repeat it. Let's watch here what's happening here. Gets a little bit softer. And of course I can also go down with the opacity of this layer. And finally, let's recap this. First, photography. Move around before you shoot. Look how your subject changes with different perspectives, with different points of views and axis of view. Then if you clone, Control-click marks the source. And avoid patterns or break-off patterns. If you are cloning, let's say, a brick wall or so, you have to see that you keep in the pattern and don't make silly mistakes. And finally, enhancing the sky is easy if you copy the layer in multiply mode, use a blue channel as the layer mask, and then use the threshold tool to make the mask really black and white. Keep the sky white and the rest that should not be multiplied in black. And then, if you need to, use the blur tool on the mask to get the halos down. On the workshop in Chocoback, I had another image made in Chocoback that I enhanced a bit. And this is one of the two shots I made from a casino there. And the other one is this one. You see the difference. This here has been made with flash on in my little camera, and you see only the lights there, because the little flash in this camera doesn't cut anything further away than 2 meters or so. And this one here was made without flash, exposure time about half a second, and to keep the camera steady I just clamped it with my hands to a pole of a traffic sign. And so I had camera shake, but not as much as you would expect. And this image It has some atmosphere. You even see here the tree a little bit, and it gets the atmosphere of the stuff I saw at that moment a little bit better than the other one. For a real shot, I should have set up a tripod, which I hadn't with me, set up my digital SLR, which I hadn't with me, and shot a series of images and combined them later on with structure and the tree and so on. But we were on our way to the hotel and I had just moments to grab this shot. So, if you're in a hurry and have only point and shoot with you, or even with your SLR, just hold your camera steady with help of something that is sturdy and forget about the flash. And I think this was it for this week. Don't forget that there is a new forum where you can look if you are interested to participate. And I want to thank you for the donations. I now have enough money to cover all the costs up to the end of the year. I wrote every donor which part of the year his donation has covered. If there's any more money coming in the next month, I'll put that aside for a trip to Berlin in December. Between Christmas and New Year, there's every year the Chaos Communication Congress of the Chaos Computer Club here in Germany. It's one of the oldest hacker clubs in Europe, and they are pretty famous here. On this congress there's always a meeting of GIMP people, and I'll try to arrange that I can visit there and that I can make an interview with Sven Neumann and other GIMP developers. Goodbye, up to next week.